How was the bike ride?
16
How
miles.
could bike ride and nice be in the same sentence?
Not sure. I went on a beautiful bike ride. Look, I'm all burnt.
I got burnt like crazy today.
Guys have to come up with better hobbies.
Anyways. Okay, so the Chazar from yesterday, so the Mishnah talking about different types of ornaments that a woman could wear on Shabbos. And if she goes out on them, she's not chayav chatas. Agav, I just saw the Birkei Yosef says that nowadays this thing about the strings and stuff that they in the hair that we said that we're afraid they're going to loosen them, and therefore they might have to go to mikvah, so they're going to loosen them, and they may end up carrying them. It says nowadays that women don't go to the mikvah in lakes and rivers, and all mikvahs are indoors anyways in a Rosh Hashanah. So there's no concern that they're going to loosen up there's no concern they're going to loosen them up. So therefore, women can go out with headbands and anything in their hair, and that's why you never heard of any restrictions of that whatsoever. And it seems like that's what the Pais can say we rely on, even though it seems to be against the Shulchan Aruch and against the Gemara. All right, so it's a big chiddush. Yeah? Okay, so that's just a practical thing. Then we said in the Gemara, so we said about the loosening for the mikvah. Then we say water goes through woven cloths, and the machlokes if strings made of wool and hair are chatzitza or not. Then we said around the neck is not a chatzitza because she's not going to make it too tight, unless it's one of those types of jewelry that they put really tight around the neck, so it makes the face look fat. Then we said that everybody agrees that hair is porous, and then there's different headbands that different women use that are asa. Okay, so now we really have to go back a little bit to the two dots, even though we did pass that. Let's just go back to the two dots on Nun Zayin Amud Beis. Right, V'loi b'kavel. Yeah. You see it, two dots around 10 lines up from the bottom. Okay, so V'loi b'kavel Amar of Yanai kavel zeh any day amahu. I don't know what this kavel is. I kavla da'avda tanan. If it's a kavel of an eved, which basically means it's like avodim have to walk around with like a patch on their clothing, which that would be a lot of tonight's stuff. We'll be discussing that, but they have to go around with some sort of patch that said that they're slaves. So I don't know. Rabbi Yana says I don't know if that's what it is. I will keep a shaltem or shopper dummy, or if it's a cap that's made out of wool, a woolen cap that covers their hair, that would be okay. Or that when we said that you can't go out with a kovel, that means with this hat, this woolen hat, they can't go out. And of course, if they can't go out a woolen hat, they certainly can't go out with this patch that says they're an eved. So must be like the mandomer that says that when it says v'loy b'kovel, it's talking about the hat. A woman can go out with a kovel and an istama to the chatzar, even to a kovel to Rosh Hashanah, right? So therefore, we're saying that you can go out with this type of hat, right? Whatever's below this hat, meaning whatever they keep below the hat, you can go out with, because they're not going to take it off, because if they take off this hat, then their hair is going to be revealed in Rosh Hashanah, which obviously they're not going to do, so therefore there's no concern. But anything they put on top of that hat, lamala, above that hat, then they would take it off, because as long as that hat stays on, they're not going to be worried about their hair being revealed. So let's say they have this fancy accessory that goes on top of a headband, so that since it goes on top of this hat, we have to be concerned that they will take it off, right? My istama. So what is an istama? Amarav bizyoni. It's a bizyoni. Okay, my bizyoni. Amarav kill your pruchi. It's something that a small band. Yeah, Rashi says it's mitznefes katana lacha kishra shekalas roisha v'kisses yesh saris katana sheyotza chutz l'kishra. Meaning, sometimes a woman has some loose hairs that stay out of her head covering, so it's sort of like a little piece that she puts there in order to keep the hair under whatever it is that she's covering her hair with. So that would be allowed. Okay? So Tarabanan. There are three things that we said by this istama with this accessory that keeps the hair under the hat. Ein ba mashum klayim. There is no shatness. Okay, now why is there no shatness? So Rashi says because it's basically like a felt. It's something that's felt, right? F-E-L-T, right? And it's hard. So since it's hard, there's no shatness because it's not woven together. It's not sewn together. Yeah, that's one. And it will not become tumah from saras. And you're not allowed to go out with it. It's not even because of the gezerah. They made a gezerah after the churban. Besides making a gezerah not to listen to music, they also made a gezerah that kalas can't go out with these special crowns because of the churban Beis Hamikdash. Right, so that's why they stopped all these crowns. So basically, this what's it called? This istama type hair piece is not included in that, and then they can go out with that by weddings. Okay, Shmuel Amar Kavla Abdet. Okay, so that's the first shot. So the first shot that it's talking about a kovel. A kovel is a headpiece. Shmuel disagrees. He says Kavla Abdet. It's a kovel of an eved. Meaning an eved has like this insignia that says that they're an eved, right? Which something like the Jewish star, I guess, that they went out with in Germany. So Shmuel says that's what he disagrees with Rabbi Vo, and he says that's what the Mishnah is talking about. Did Shmuel really say this? A eved can go out with this seal on his neck, hanging around his neck, meaning as a necklace. But he cannot go out with a chaysam that's pinned to his clothing, right? So we just said that Shmuel says that the Mishnah says you're allowed to, and now we have a beferish that Shmuel says that you're not allowed to go out with this insignia type thing that's on his clothing. I don't know if insignia is the right word. It's like a patch, some sort of patch that's obviously not sewn in, right? So we have a stira in Shmuel, like Kasha Hodavid Rabbe, Hodavid Iu Lenafshe. One is where he did it, his Rebbe, his master did it for him, and one is where he did it for himself. Right? So if he did it for himself, it's he'll take it off. If it's his master's, he's going to be scared to take it off. So therefore, since he's going to be scared to take it off, he's allowed to go out with it because he'll never remove it and carry it. So that's what the Gemara says. But how are we establishing this case? Shmuel, what are we establishing in the case of Shmuel David Le Rabbe, that is talking about where his Rebbe did it for him, and therefore he's scared to be caught in the Rishus without having this thing on. So there was no concern that he's going to take it off, and therefore he's allowed to wear it on Shabbos. So, but if it's on his clothing, why can't he go out with it? Right? It's part of his clothing. So Dilma, the Gemara answers, Dilma mifsuk, because we're afraid that it's going to break. Umirsus, we're going to see what this thing is made out of soon. Right? Dilma mifsuk, maybe this patch that he has is going to break. Umirsus, and he's going to be scared of his owner to see him. So what's he going to do? Mekabel umachisle akaspe, and he's going to fold over his clothing. We discussed this a little bit last night after the daf. He's going to fold over his clothing and put it over his shoulder, so therefore it's going to block the patch. Meaning, let's say he wears the patch on his shoulder, or like over here in his chest. So he's afraid, now it broke. Now he's afraid he's going to meet his master in the street. His master's going to say, "What happened to your patch?" So then what's he going to do? He's going to take his clothing and wear it like a scarf, which is not the proper way to wear the clothing. So since it's not the proper way to wear the clothing, that's going to be considered carrying. So that would be the concern. Right? Because Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef, Rav Yochanan, Hayotze b'talis mekufelas u'manachas le'seifa b'shabbos chayiv chatos. If somebody goes out with a talis that's folded over and resting on his shoulders, which is not the way it's supposed to be worn, and you wear it like that on Shabbos, you're going to be chayiv chatos. This is what Shmuel said to Rav China Bar Shila. Kulu Rabbanan devei reish galusa like lifku b'sar b'li chasimi all the people that were part of the house of the Reish Galusa, seemingly it seems that the Reish Galusa, the people that were part of the house, had to have a special badge on them saying that they're part of the Reish Galusa, right? So loy lifku b'sar b'li chasimi, they should not go out with this type of patches, lavar minach, except for you. The loykapti alecha the Reish Galusa, Shmuel told Reb Chinan bar Shila, you can go out with it, because by you, if the Reish Galusa doesn't see it, he's not going to get upset at you. But everybody else, the Reish Galusa is going to see it. If the Reish Galusa is not going to see it, they're going to get upset at you. So we're afraid that if it breaks or something like that, you're going to cover it over with your clothing. You're going to fold over your clothing and not wear it properly. And therefore, you're going to be chayiv on Shabbos. So therefore, they are not allowed to wear it on Shabbos. Yeah?
Oh, are we scared that something's going to break of its own accord? Until now, the chashash was that he's going to take it off. I mean, how fragile are these things?
Oh, so we're going to see now. We're going to see now that there's two types. There's one made out of metal. There's one made out of clay. Right.
But either way, it's sewn in, no?
So that's what seems like it's not. It seems like it's some sort of pin, right? See, that's otherwise you're right. If it's sewn in, well, maybe if it's clay and it's sewn in, it'll still break. I don't know, right?
What's also the fear factor? It's an Evan Ivri, it's an Evan Kanani. What is it?
I think I'm not sure. I mean, either way, even if it's an Evan Kanani has to keep Shabbos, right? He still has to keep Shabbos.
What, they're going to fire him? They're going to get rid of him?
What do you say? I'm sorry.
What's the fear factor here?
No, he's afraid that his boss is going to get upset at him, so therefore he's going to cover over his clothing. Right?
You
know what I'm saying? If it's the boss, right? We said like this, if it's the boss, he's never going to take it off. That's the way they initially said. Right? Or initially the Gemara thought that if it's the boss made it for him, so he's never going to take it off. He's not going to carry it with him. Let's say he's embarrassed to be an Eved in the street. So if it's his boss, he's not going to take it off because he's not going to want to tick off his boss if he happens to meet his boss. That's what he initially thought. But if he made it himself, then he'll take it off because he's not going to be scared. Right? And then the Gemara says, then there's a chashash though that he may take, that if it's the boss, that he may take his clothing and fold it up and put it over on her shoulders, and then that's going to be chatos because that's not the proper way to wear clothing. Right?
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Gufa. So the Gemara is going to try. Maybe you'll get a little clearer with this next Gemara. Gufa Amar Shmuel. An Eved can go out with this patch or whatever it is on his neck, but not on his clothing. He can go out with the seal that's on his neck, but he cannot go out with the one on his clothing, again, like we said, because he is going to, we're afraid of the clothing that he's going to cover it over. I'll ask you an Eved can't go out with either one, not with the one around his neck, and not with the one around his clothing. And then that's the kasha is right there already, right? Because there you see the stira, right? Then it continues to say the entire brisa, which has nothing really to do with our Gemara. So zevazeh, it's for Simon, so it can bring in some tumah and tara. Yeah, zevazeh, ein mekabel tumah, right? It's not for this and this, meaning whether the one is hanging around his neck or the one on his clothing are not mekabel tumah, v'loy b'zug shevet tzavaray, and he can't go out. That was zevazeh ein mekabel tumah. Both of those are not mekabel tumah. Then the next case, v'loy b'zug shevet tzavaray, and he can't go out with a bell that goes around his neck. But he can go out with a bell that's hanging on his clothing. And zevazeh mekabel and tumah. And both of those are mekabel tumah. Meaning the reason why the first two are not mekabel tumah, meaning the patch, the identity card. I guess maybe you would call it an identity card. Yeah? Because those are not for noi. And if it's not for noi, it's not going to become tumah. But the bell is for noi, it's for beauty, and therefore it's going to become tameh, but the one on his clothing, it can go out, which we'll see why that's allowed, right? But let's say it's a behema, and a behema can't go out. Can't go out with its identity card on its neck, and not if it has one hanging on its clothing either. I guess the cow had some sort of clothing on it. And it can't go out with a bell on its clothing, and it can't go with a bell on its neck. And they're both, this and this are not mekabel tumah, right? Because obviously it's not a there for noi. Lema, right? Okay, so whatever it is, the bottom line is we see a stira that here the Bryce is saying that he can't go out with this seal that's on his clothing. So lema hadavid la rabbe hadavid iyul nafshe. Why don't we say, like we've been saying till now, one is talking about where his Rebbe made it, and one is talking about where he made it, right? Which is the exact text we said before. The Gemara says, no, you don't need to come on to that. They're both talking about where his Rebbe made it. Bekan, meaning his master. Bekan b'shel matches. Bekan b'shel tit. One is talking about where it was made out of metal, and one is talking about where it's made out of tit, which is, I guess, clay or mud, right? Like Rav Nachman said in the name of Rav Ravua, something that the master is not makbid on, you can't go out because you might carry it, right? If your master doesn't care whether you have this identity card on you, then you can't go out with it because you might carry it. I'm sorry. How did I say it? I'm sorry, I said it the wrong way. Something that your Rebbe is makbid on it, you're not allowed to go out with it because we're afraid if it gets busted, you're going to cover it over. Something that he's not makbid alav, then you can go out because even if it gets broken, he's not going to care, right? And that also makes sense. Both of them are not mekabel tumah, right? Meaning the one on the clothing and the one on the neck. If you say that it's talking about where it was metal, that these things are not mekabel tumah because they're not for noi. Kalim did too, but if you would have kalim made out of that same thing, then mekabel tumah, then it will be mekabel tumah. But if you would say that the Bryce is talking about made out of mud or clay, when it says, oh, these are not mekabel tumah, sounds like it's only because they're identity cards. But theoretically, if they would be kalim, then they would be mekabel tumah. But Tanya, clay avonim, clay galonim, clay adama. I hope the other one remembers this. We had this a bunch of blood ago. I have no idea how many blood ago though. Clay, so I remember it a little bit. Clay avonim, the kalim of stones. Clay galolim, clay made out of dung. Clay adama, and kalim made out of the ground. Aim mekabel tumah. Not from divrei Torah, not from divrei Torah. So therefore, we say that the one that he is allowed to go out with is made out from metal, and the one that you're not allowed to go out with is made out of mud. And when of metal, we're not afraid that it's going to get broken, right? So therefore, we're not afraid it's going to get broken. So therefore, he's not going to wrap his clothing around it. But the one that's made out of mud, then we're afraid that he will, right?
Did the chiluk hadi day hadi rabbe fall off? The only chiluk now is between metal and clay.
No, it seems like we're saying that both his, right? Now we're saying that both his the rabbe. Yeah, that chiluk goes away. You're right. Yes.
That chiluk is
correct. But they're both rabbe. Yeah, very good. Should have pointed that out. Thank you. Right. It's both rabbe. And now we're differentiating between, meaning in the Havamina, we were differentiating between the master, who was the one that made the identity card, the master or the slave. And now we're saying that it's where the difference is a matter of what type of identity card it is. Is it made out of mud or is it made out of metal? Yeah? Okay. I better find some interesting subject here. I think we're losing the oil. Yeah, it's a little. I warned you. It's a little bit dry. This subject there. We got to get to some more interesting stuff, right? Okay.
I just came. I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling really upset now.
All right. Okay.
I just came and now you're saying I lost it. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Amar Mar. We're gonna unfortunately have more tumah and tara here. Amar Mar. He's not allowed to go out with a bell that's hanging on his neck, but he can go out with the bell that's hanging on his clothing. Why can't he go out with a bell that's hanging on his neck? Why? Because obviously the bell might fall, right? He has it hanging on a necklace, this bell. It might break, and he might end up carrying it. So the one on his clothing also. Meaning, the bell, either he can go out with it, and we're not afraid that he's going to carry it, or not. Why do we differentiate between the clothing and what's hanging on his neck? No, it's talking about where it had a mumcha on it, right? Meaning a mumcha sewed it very well into the clothing. Like we said before, we said it yesterday, a blot ago, anything that's woven, there's no chashash, because it's woven in so strong, even though yesterday we seem to have said that arug is referring to it being a chatzitza, but it seems like he's using it a play on words, and he's saying that anything that's sewn, that's woven, is not an issue, meaning it's woven in so well that it's not going to fall off, and therefore it's not a concern.
Anything not done professionally, we're going to say...
Right, no, something that would be done professionally would not have this concern. Yeah. What's bothering you? Because now everything becomes subjective.
Right.
Yeah, so you say, my tailor knows what they're doing. Maybe your tailor doesn't know, right? It's very schwer. Yes, that's what makes these, to get psak halacha from these gemaras extremely, extremely difficult, because the smallest change, they change the halacha, and it's very hard to figure out exactly what's what, when they're machalik, when they're not.
Yaakov, wasn't this like the opposite of what we had several daf ago, about worrying about if someone who's an expert in doing something, you can do it on Shabbos versus not doing it on Shabbos?
An expert?
I don't remember the situation right now, but it was something like,
It was a kamea.
Was it Kamea? I don't even remember.
Was it Kamea? Yeah, we discussed. We're going to get back to that.
No, is if you are an expert. Oh no, it's about carrying out. It's in second parak. It's talking about going out. If you're an uman on something like you're a tailor or something.
tailor.
The what? Yeah.
What? Gersh, you said again?
Oh, that way back when? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A tailor can't go out with his tools because he may forget them.
So, but again,
That's a shtickle difference. That's where the guy's gonna. Okay, I guess it has what to do with this. I mean, it's just like someone who's an expert in doing this stuff. I mean, I guess it makes sense if an expert does it for someone for Shabbos. Like my daughters have like these sequin things that they'll wear on Shabbos. If I did it or my wife did it, it'd be ridiculous. But if someone who made it, I guess I don't know. No, you're right. No, then that's basically what it's saying. If it's done in a very expert way that it won't fall out, then it's not a problem.
Right, we had that also. We had Memchiba Yoitzer Mitchilo, then it's mutter.
You're saying by the Neirus.
Right, the same concept. If you know that's how it was created in a good way.
See, but but that's really not a chashash that it'll fall off. There's a chashash that you're gonna break it you're not gonna break it if it's attached properly.
Which is the same thing here. You can't break it.
Well, here we're not chashash. Here's not a chashash you're gonna break it. Here we're just afraid it's not gonna fall out. But I hear, okay, that's a good thing.
You slow. What happens if you didn't do it professionally? It wasn't done professionally, but she knows how to do a good job. So you're gonna say there were guys or not guys there?
I don't know.
How should I know? No, I'm saying no, but that's the problem with this Gemara.
Okay, so what do you mean? What's together of a professional?
No, it says it because it's a professional. We're not guys because it's not gonna fall off. Right? But if your wife knows how to do it well, and we're not worried that it's gonna fall off. So are we guys or not?
I'll tell you what. Do people pay her to do it? That's it. If people pay you to do something, then you're a professional. If they don't pay you, then you're not professional.
It's not paying. It's over here.
Well, that's another question. We're gonna get to it more in a few minutes. We're gonna get to it more. But Cholamayit has the same issue. Can somebody be an expert even though they don't get paid? Right?
Probably what?
Gonna get to doing what do you call it? The Maisa Uman on Cholamayit. Right? We're going to see more on Amud. Let's see about this. Amar Mar. Yeah, let's say it's a behema. A behema can't go out. It can't go out with this identity card, not on its clothing and not on its not around its neck. And it can't go out with the bell. Basically, an animal can't go out with anything, right? But any of these things. Mekabel and tumah. Right? And both of them are not mekabel tumah. Now the Gemara is going to ask us: a bell that hangs on a behema is not mekabel tumah. Ramino, I'll ask you a stira. We have a brisa that says zug shel behema tameya. A zug of a behema is tameya. Right? So how can you say that we just said that you don't get not tummy if we have a brisa that says it is tummy? V'shel deles tahira, and if you have a bell that hangs on a door, right? I guess those. Sometimes you open the door, so it rings a bell. It's tahar shel deles v'asula behema tameya, right? If you take a doorbell, right? So we're saying if it hangs on the door, it's tahar, right? Now the reason why it's tahar if it hangs on the door is because the door is attached to the house. We know the rule that anything mechuber lekarka is not mekabel tumah, right? That's why a toilet seat is not mekabel tumah. That's probably the most practical case that it comes up with in today's contemporary questions is a toilet seat, whether it's mekabel tumah or not, right? So delas tahira, right? That's why delas is tahar. So the Gemara says, what happens if it was a delas, shel delas vasola behema? Let's say it was on a door, so that means the bell is tahar. Then you went and you hung it on a behema, then it's going to be tameh. Shel behema vasola delas, but it was on a behema, and then you took it off the behema and hung it on the door. Avapi shechayvu ledelas, bekabel shechibrum sorry ledelas, the kabel mismarim tameh. Even though you attached it to the door and you even nailed it, kabel mismarim, you put nails through it. Tummy, it's still tummy. Shekola kalim, and I hope the island remembers this. We had this 4 blot ago. Shekola kalim yardin lidei tumasan b'machshava ve'ina oilam lidei tumasan ela b'shina ma'asa. Kalim only go down to becoming, and when they go down, meaning when it becomes a kli, in order for something to become tummy, it has to be a kli. What makes it into a kli? The owner decides that it's a kli. So let's say he just decides it in his mind. That will create it into a kli, even if it's just in his mind. He doesn't physically do anything to this utensil to make it into a kli. But if it becomes tameh, right? We know the other rule. If something's tameh, how do you get it not to be tameh? By destroying it. But let's say in his head, so he has this kli, and then in his head he decides that he's not going to make it tameh. He's not going to use it anymore as a kli. That's not enough. You have to actually do something physical to the kli. It has to do with shinoi maisa, right? Whatever it is, we see from the brisa a stira whether a cow's bell is tameh or not. Like kasha hadisle invil hadalesle invil. One is talking about where it had, what's the name of that thing that makes the bell make the noise? The
clapper and
clapper. Thank you. Yeah. So one has a clapper, and one does not have a clapper. Meaning, if it has a clapper, so it's a working bell, right? If it doesn't have a clapper, then it's not a working bell, and therefore it's not gonna become tummy. Manav shachs, the Gemara asks, either way, if it's a kli, I will be the leslie invil. Meaning, if this bell is a utensil, which probably is whether it has a clapper or not, right? So the Gemara is asking, if it's a kli, even if it has no clapper, and lav manahu, and if it's not a kli, invil mashu le'manav, just because it has a clapper is going to make it into a kli. Meaning, which way do you want it? Is it a kli? Is it not a kli? The clapper, the Gemara is basically asking, should be meaningless. So Gemara answers, in Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani, Omer Rav Yonasan, Omer Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Omer Rav Yonasan, Minayin lemashmiya kol b'kli matchas shu tameh. How do you know that if you can make a noise from a metal, something metal, that it's going to become tameh? Shenemar kol davar sheyave be'esh taviru be'esh. Anything called davar, it's going to be a play on words here. Kol davar asher yave be'esh taviru be'esh. That's talking about kasher and kalim. When something becomes treif, so then if it goes through fire, you got to kasher with fire, right? Meaning something that became treif through fire, like a barbecue. If you want to kasher a barbecue, you can't just pour hot water on it, right? The barbecue grill that you want to kasher cannot just pour hot water on it because it was taviru be'esh. The barbecue went through fire. So the only way to kasher is putting it through fire. So we're saying a play on words here. Called davar, any word, that's the literal translation. Asher yave be'esh taviru be'esh. Afilu dibur yave be'esh. So there it's also talking about tumah also, right? Because that's after the war, they were koshering and toiveling their kalim. So it's saying that it's as long as it can make noise, it has the status of a utensil, right? So therefore, that's a clapper will make all the difference on whether this thing has the din of a kli and therefore it's tummy. If it has a clapper, it can make noise, and since it can make noise, it's tummy. And if it doesn't have a clapper, then it can't make noise, and it's not tummy. Okay. So then Gemara says, "But mayu kimta, but the leslie invo." So what are we saying? That that the cow that's when it's not tummy doesn't have a clapper. Right? Let's say the middle case. It cannot go out with the bell that's on its neck. Right? But it can go out with the zug shebeksusa. Mekabel tumah. I'm sorry, this is not talking about the cow. It's talking about on a person. Right? For loy bezug shebetzavari, not it can't go out with the bell on his neck, but it can go out with the bell on his clothing. They're both mekabel tumah. Eat the lesla invil, mi mekabel tumah. If it doesn't have the clapper on it, is it mekabel tumah? Meaning this whole brisa is talking about animals and humans, right? Avodim and animals. So b'marav shoch, if it has the clapper, then it should have the clapper throughout the whole brisa. If it doesn't have a clapper, then it doesn't have the throughout the whole brisa. So we're saying right now, based on the cow, it doesn't have the clapper. So if it doesn't have the clapper, so then why should it be mekabel tumah? Right? It's not a kli. Or I'll ask you a question. If somebody makes a bell, l'machteshes, right? What's machteshes? Anybody say ketores? Machteshes is for the grinder, right? And the Gemara in Krisa says, right? We say this for kol yafel b'samin. You know what I'm saying? And anybody say well, those that say it every day, and those that say it only on Shabbos. Shakol yafel b'samin, meaning they used to play music in order to get the. I don't think we can understand the pshat here, but they used to make noise, and that would take the ketores and make the ketores smell better because there was music. I guess the vibrations or the vibe. How's that? The vibe coming out of the music, right, would make the ketores smell better. So if you made a bell for the machteshes, for the grinder to do the ketores, ula arisa, and for a kid's crib, right, that's to make noise to calm the kid down. And for the kids, it doesn't mean for svarim. It means for when they, what do you call it? Rashi says when they would go to shul, right, and they would bang on the bell to get the kids to come to school, right? That's what so really it's not svarim, it's saporim. The saporim, we had this before also in the second parak. That's referring to the Rebbe. Right, and then things that they hung around the kids' necks so that they would know where the kids are. If they have the clapper in them, then they're going to be tamei. If they don't have the clapper in them, they're tar. Nitlu in velayan, if their clapper is removed, adayin tumas in alayin, they're still tamei. Right? Yeah. So therefore, the kasha is, if it doesn't have the clapper, so it's still going to be tamei. Right? We got finished saying that if it doesn't have the clapper, it's going to be tar. But here, clearly, if it doesn't have the clapper, it's still going to be tamei. So hani mili, Gemara answers hani mili, but tinoik de lekala vidilei. That's only for a tinoik, because the tinoik, the whole point of the kids having this bell is that it should make noise. Of a gadol tachshit hulei, but a gadol, it's just for, it's not there to make noise. The bell, somebody's wearing a bell on Shabbos on them. It's not to make noise. It's just how do you call it? Tachshit. It's an accessory or whatever. So avagav the leslie invil, even though it does not have an invil. So now we're differentiating between kids and adults. What's it called? Bells, right? We're differentiating with kids and adult bells. An adult bell is just for looks, so we don't need it to have a clapper in it in order for it to be tamei. And a kid's does need to have the clapper in it, once it has the clapper in it and removes it, it's still going to be tamei, right? Because otherwise it's useless without it. Yeah. So but it retains its tumah status. So Amar nitlu b'lein adayin tumas b'lein, right? If the clapper was taken out of it, it's still tamei. Lamai chazu. It's got to be right. It's got to be something. What is it? What are you going to do with this bell now that you took out the clapper, right? No, because it's still tummy. Because all you can do, you can get a hedge. Meaning it's an easy job to put the clapper back in. So since it's an easy job to put the clapper back in, then you are allowed to. Therefore, it's still going to retain its tumah status even after the clapper goes
because
out.
I had you to put it in so it makes it a din clear.
It's still not. It's not considered broken. It's not considered broken because a hedge you can put it back together. I will tell you an extremely practical application of this, and that is Keurig machines. I know how I'm going to two-stell it to this, but tonight we need to two-stell it. But Keurig machines, right? Do they need tfilas kalim or not? Or any of these frappuccino, all this whatever. All these fancy coffee machines that if you dunk them in a mikveh, they're going to get ruined because they're full of electric. Right?
What are you toiling? It's plastic.
No, it's not. It's metal. Inside is metal. The heating
But
element
it
is metal.
won't go to the metal without the pump being on.
Okay. So, but if you probably don't need it to get there, as long as it's all considered one big kli, so you need just the toilet.
Yaakov, the metal is what it sits on. It's like a blech. You don't.
No. Inside the device is metal.
You say yeah. I think you say yeah. No.
What I say, you can't toivel it. You're gonna bust it if you toivel it. So what I tell people to do, it's not my own thing, is that so you can lend it to a guy and borrow it back, which is a little bit of a cop-out, because that's a combination of things. Or, I'm not going to mention his name in public, because then the oil will make him crazy, but there is a fellow in town, and there's a guy in Lakewood, I think, that does it for $20. He takes apart the machine so that it's now destroyed, and then he puts it back together.
And then it doesn't have the din that you need.
And then it was like a kli was made by a yid. But that halacha is clear in the Paiskim, only works if it would need an uman to put it back together again. If a hedjid can take it apart and put it back together, that's not considered a destruction, and it's still considered like a guy made it.
What about a hand?
What about the whole mekabel lakarka thing?
We don't paskin like that. There is a shita like that, but we don't paskin like that. But again, I don't want to get into a tfilas kalim situation here. I'm just saying that any of these electric devices that people say, okay, so take it apart. So some people, what they do is they make a mistake and they'll take a screw from the bottom of the Keurig machine, they'll unscrew it, and they say, oh, now it doesn't work, and then they screw it back together again. That's not enough, because that even a hedjid can do. You need to break it. If you're going to break a kli, because you don't want to toil it, you have to break it in a way that it's going to need an expert to put it back. Because if a hedjid can put it back, then it's still its original.
What's the proper way to do it?
That's mamish this gemara. That's mamish this
gemara.
What's
the proper way?
Oh, to do a Keurig machine? If I knew that, I would do it myself and make a few dollars.
Yaakov, do anything. Why can't you do a sandwich maker? Same problem.
You could do that, but a sandwich maker, you have to break it up. You have to do it in a way that it's going to need an uman. Yes, but it's a sandwich maker. It's not worth it. You just toivel it and dry it out for a few days.
Sandwich maker George Foreman, you can toivel. Just dry it out for a few days.
Correct. But theoretically, if you're nervous to do that, you could also take it apart. But you'd have to do it in a way that it would need an expert. It can't be broken that some clown like me could put it back together. If I could put it back together again, it's not broken enough. Right?
Can you explain what you said before, that it doesn't need to get to all the pieces?
I said I don't want to get into the whole tfilas kalim situation. If you look at the whole kli, like it's one big entity, right? Let me ask you a question. When you go to the mikveh, do you have to swallow the water and then go to the bathroom and let it go through your whole body?
I hope you don't. I hope you don't have to
go all the way through so that you urinate as well. Just to
That's
make sure, you know?
Okay, parents, stop dreaming. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, no. So in the body, somebody lo yaleinu has a pacemaker, right? Is that a chatzitza? It's not a chatzitza, right? It's all part of the body, right? So the metal is considered part of. It's fused in with the plastic on the outside, and therefore, I'm not saying everybody agrees to this, but they say since it's all part of one kli, then it doesn't need to get inside. You hear what I'm saying, Leo?
I mean, it sounds. Yeah.
You're not buying.
I hear what you're saying. You're making sense. I just don't understand.
That's so respectful of you.
I'm saying just dunk the top in. Like, well, then why dunk the whole thing in at all?
No, and we're not saying you can't dunk it. From what I understand, it's going to get broken if you dunk it. Right? We're just talking about take it apart and put it back together again. But it needs to be done. If you want to do this shtick, it needs to be done in a way
because
that it needs an expert to put it back.
The heating element inside is metal, the one that holds the water and boils it up.
Yeah.
Why can't you make a hole with a needle?
You make a hole with a needle. Yeah, that would work.
Why can't you just get a replacement reservoir? You can't make a new reservoir.
Not the reservoir, Israel. It's the actual.
It's still part of the part. It's part and parcel.
I say you use the Corona heter.
By the way, that Rabbi Belsky held this, and Reb Hillel David told me that he be'etzim agrees with that because the metal is such a small part of the machine, it's really looked at like a piece of plastic. It's like a plastic machine and not a metal machine. I can't say I understand. That's what Rabbi Belsky held, yes.
Yeah, but the metal is the key part of the whole machine.
Right, but it's such a minor part of it, and it's
not minor. It's the whole. It's what makes the coffee.
It's what makes it hot, right? But 98% of it is plastic, so he looked at it like it's a plastic thing. Okay,
so even if
that's why
he wouldn't make a bracha. So he wouldn't make a bracha even if he tile with it.
I don't make a bracha on tefillas kelim. That's a different story.
No, I know you. I said he.
Oh boy,
I can't speak for him.
There we go.
Wait, so are you saying you do have to or you don't have to?
Gershon, I told you I don't make brachas. What should I tell you? I told you. What?
So what was your whole story with the pacemaker? Do you or don't you have to table this then? It sounds like the pacemaker is not a chatzitza, and either is this carrying machine inside the carrying machine.
That's what some hold. So I personally, what I tell people to do is that a combination of a bunch of things. One, according to Rabbi Belsky, it doesn't need tefillah. Two, you have what Eliyahu Ikovic said, that if it's plugged into the wall, it becomes mekabel lekarka. So there's a shita that holds that since it's attached to the ground, like we just got on the top of this Amud, right? That the bell on the door is considered attached to the house. So therefore, you take the plug, attach it to the house. Therefore, it's attached to the house, which is a minority opinion, but that's another second reason. Then you give it to a guy and borrow it back. That's a third opinion. So with the combination of all three, I think you're in the clear, and then you're okay. You don't got to spend another $20 and give it to this guy later.
Is there a stronger way to be connected to the karka, not by the plug, but if you were to use like a hard line water into like the faucet, would that be a stronger?
Yes, I know somebody that did it. Yes,
I used to do it.
That's a smart idea, Simon. If you take the faucet from the house and make like an auto feed that it comes straight out, sort of like what Peretz does with his grill, it's connected straight with the gas to the house, right? So theoretically, if you had the grates are separated anyway, so it doesn't really work. But theoretically, if you had a grill that the grates were connected to the grill, and then you connected that with the gas line to the house, then l'chayr, that would all be considered mekabel lekarka, and then it wouldn't be an issue. Yeah,
but would one be stronger than the other?
The same with the toilet?
No, the toilet is seriously connected to the house.
No, I'm saying, but that's the heter on the toilet, is the mekabel
100%, exactly, yeah, 100%. But the carrying machine, that you plug it in one, you take it out, you plug it someplace else. How can you call that mekabel lekarka? That's what. There's no machlokes about it being mekabel lekarka. That's not the issue. The issue is whether a carrying machine is considered mekabel lekarka. That's why the Gemara here says that the bell on the top, when the bell to the door, they put nails through it, not just hanging the bell on the door. They're always going to say if you hang a bell on the doorknob, that's going to be considered mechuber to the bell. Okay, whatever it is.
So what you're saying is that if it were plumbed in, there would be no shaila mechuber lekarka.
Correct. Yes.
Or you can hardwire it.
What?
Or you can hardwire it. I think Avi Sontag has it. I gotta ask him, but I think Avi Sontag has it his connected to his house.
Do what I do and have my guy comes in and says, "Hey boss, can I make myself a coffee with my machine that you gave me?"
There you go. Or you can do like I do, not drink coffee. Then you have no issues at all.
Oh, sorry.
Chas v'shalom.
Issues for this. I didn't say no issues at all.
Chas v'shalom.
Yeah. Shiva Katana here has one that's it's plumbed in.
Yeah. Okay. So that's for sure mekabel lekarka.
Tzviaga, are you like Ramesh on this? So if we don't drink coffee,
I like Ramesh on this.
No, I'm saying if we don't drink coffee, then we don't make brachas on anything.
What does that mean?
This is your famous line of Rav Moshe and the Shabbos clocks.
That what?
You always tell people that if you don't drink Chalav Yisrael, then you're not allowed to use Shabbos clocks.
Oh, that's just a joke. One had nothing to do with the other. That's a Phoenix joke.
No, that I remember from New York. You can't blame that.
Okay, whatever. It's a joke because you don't have just because you hold him with one doesn't mean you have to hold him with the other. Okay.
I just want to be the stents, by the way, are urig. So we had urig is not a chatzitza.
Who?
Stents. Heart stents. A stent.
Oh, stents.
Stents are urig, so it's namish, not a shiloh.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so Amar Mar Nitlu in Velayan Adayin Tumas in Alayim Lamai Chazu Amar Rabbi Hayel Shehedjik Yachal Achsira. The reason why it's still tummy is because a hedge could put it back. So since a hedge could put it back, it's not considered broken. That's the rule that we're saying here. That has to do with Tfilas Kelim. Masav Rava, so Rava has the kasha Hazug Va'in Bel Chibur. A zug is what do you call it? A scissors. A zug literally means a pair, right? So a scissors is two knives attached together, and that's a pair, so that makes a scissors. But inval and the inval are considered chibur, they're considered attached to each other. Meaning, if you touch one end, we had this a couple of blot ago, not more than a couple of blot ago. If you take a scissors, right? A scissors open, let's say it's open, and something tummy touches one piece of metal, right? Does the other piece of metal become tummy too? And same thing by a bell. If something touches the clapper, does the whole bell become tummy, or if something touches the bell, does the clapper become tummy? So we're saying that it is considered a chibur, right? And if you say that this is what it means to say, even though it's not attached, it's as if it's attached. Vatani, we learned that a brayso mispyrus shall prokim, a scissors that made out of pieces. V'izmel shall rehitni, and the izmel shall rehitni is a what was it called again? A plane, right? Rashi calls it a plane, right? So basically, a plane is a thing that they smooth out the mud and cement with. So it comes in a couple of different pieces. Chibur l'tumah, they're considered attached for tumah, meaning if one becomes tumah, one piece becomes tumah, the other piece becomes tumah. V'ein chibur lahazah. But if they become tumah mace and you're trying to sprinkle the ashes on them, then you have to sprinkle it on both. I'm reading on Manav Shach, and the Gemara asks, Manav Shach, right? We had this 10 blot ago, this Gemara. I only saw that on the side of the Gemara, by the way. That's because I remember it was 10 blot ago. I mean, a Manav Shach, if it's attached, then even for hazah it should be considered attached, and as long as you sprinkle on one piece of metal, then the other piece of metal should be tar too. And if it's not considered attached, so even for tumah, it also shouldn't be attached. And just because one part of the scissors becomes tummy doesn't mean the other part. Or just because the clapper becomes tummy doesn't mean the bell should. Because minat Torah, when you're using it, it's considered attached, whether it's for tumah, whether it's for hazah. When you're not using it, when you're not actively using the bell or using the scissors, then it's not considered attached, not for tumah, not for hazah. Because and so right, so we just made kazayras. So therefore, if that's the case, so then why is this bell considered attached? So Rava says a different answer. The reason why the bell is tar is because it's right to hit it against cheres. Meaning you could take the bell and make noise with it by banging it against something else. Meaning even if you take the clapper out, it could still be a functioning bell by banging it against your head. Okay, the Gemara says cheres, but you could bang it against your head and you can make noise that way, right? So therefore, that's why it's okay. We'll stop here because tomorrow's a short blot and it's really in the middle of the sugya, so we'll probably pick it up again from the 2 dots. All right. I hope we didn't bore everybody too much with the sugya, but yeah, hopefully we'll get it clear as we go along. All right. Good enough.
Yeah, Laila Tov, everybody.
Good enough.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Thanks, Yaakov. Are you ready for random Shiloh of the evening?
I think I had enough already, but go ahead.
Puncha. Hi, Puncha.
This wasn't so bad comparatively.
I'm not talking about from the shear. Go ahead.
Fair enough. There's a type of planting called permaculture. Like you build a garden that mimics nature. Okay, so like an example would be the Indians used to put three types of different products together: corn, gourd, and something else, right? And what they would do is one would put nitrogen back in the earth, one would help oxygenate, the other one would whatever it does. It creates like a circuit. So permaculture basically does the same thing, but on a bigger scale. You have trees, and you do like a can. Like
I say, where do you do this? Where do you do this?
You could do it in a garden, or you can make a food forest. Like it's a whole new movement of like hip. It's almost hippie-ish in it, but it's like they have courses in it in universities now. It's really interesting stuff. But like they use all sorts of things. It's a natural pest resistor, all that stuff. Like how you do it, it basically mimics nature. Like nature doesn't need you to use fertilizer. Nature doesn't need you to water it. Nature doesn't need you to put anti pest control down. It all takes care of it itself effectively. So there's this whole movement of doing it like on a personal level in a backyard, or on if you have between a quarter of an acre until who knows when. My question is, because they're companion planting and doing all sorts of things like that, does it run into things like key lime and things like that? Would there be an issue? I know
Climb is really not an issue. It's really climb is not an issue in Chutz La'aretz, really. But I don't understand exactly what is it. How is it working? How do you just throw everything together?
One feeds off the other, maybe.
There's a chachma behind it, meaning like the bigger trees create shade, so you can have other trees under it that don't need the sunlight, or they need shade to grow. They can't do direct sunlight type of growing. The trees also keep in water, so you can have things that need the water, like let's say melon. Let's say melon needs a lot of water to grow the melon, so you put it near things that retain water in the ground. And with the leaf litter coming down in the fall, it recreates all the mulch and all the things that it needs to put nutrients back in the earth, and that type of deal. And it's a whole system. It's
like a man-made ecosystem.
It's a man-made ecosystem essentially. You're mimicking nature,
right?
But you're putting different plants right next to each other. If not, they're growing on each other. That type of deal.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what other issues what theoretically would come through it, but the only one I could think of would be key lime, because I'm reading a whole bunch of books on them now. I mean, unless I'm not grafting one thing on another. They do that too, but
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'll double check, but it's fine. As far as I remember, it's fine.
Is there a problem? There's growers here, I mean, all over the United States, that will have one pear tree, like a stock pear tree, and then they'll graft 3 to 5 different varieties of pears on this tree. Or theoretically, they'll do like an apple and a pear or something like that. Is that an issue?
1 second. To eat it or to do it?
To do it.
No, by fruits maybe. But you're not talking about fruits. What, you talking about vegetables?
All of the above.
No, to eat it is no problem. It's not an issue to eat.
You mean like cross-pollination?
The question is you to do it.
Do you mean like cross-pollination of fruits?
No. Monografting. If you pick up like Gurney is one of the big suppliers of produce and things like produce growing plants and things like that, and they have like pear trees, dwarf pear trees that'll have 5 different varieties on it, or they'll have one that has a peach and a plum,
right?
Like these random things. I don't know.
Let me double check it tonight, Belina. I'll check it or tomorrow, and then I'll let you know.
All right.
All right.
I did it again. Well,
you left it recorded.